Hello, everybody. Welcome to the morning after recap show from irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and we are here to talk about a Notre Dame victory. Notre Dame beats Cal 24-17 to open the season with their first victory of the year. They moved to 1-2, and I got to tell you, to start the game, it looked a little shaky, a little concerning for the Notre Dame football team. Couldn't get anything going on offense. Couldn't get traction. Drew Pine was scuffling, to say the least. But we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about kind of what we saw, where we go from here. If anyone has any comments, as always, just put them in the chat and we will talk about it. We will talk about it as long as it's respectful and that sort of thing. So I think what we're going to do here first is, so I'm going to talk about my viewing experience, because yesterday I was at soccer all day with my children. This is one of the few weekends where I had to kind of miss the game on like sitting in front of the TV and on Twitter and that sort of thing, because all my kids had soccer. But what I was doing is I was recording the kids' games with a camcorder, and then I had my phone that I was looking at. And so I actually saw every play. And there's breaks in the game and that sort of thing at halftime. So I was able to check that out and look at the game that way. It's not like from an analytic point of view when I do it like that. It's always kind of like, oh, this is what's happening, right? Like you're not thinking about certain plays and that sort of thing, or like what are they going to do next, or what is Cal doing, because you can't really focus. And that's why I wasn't on the post game show yesterday. But so just some quick thoughts, just go kind of right off the top on my end, because I didn't get to talk about it yesterday. And I put it out on Twitter yesterday as well. This was a game where it was like, okay, find any kind of way to win the game and move on to the next one, right? They lost the first two. Even though the program has done a bunch of winning in the last 5 years, sometimes it can get in your head. Like we're going to find a way to lose every game, and especially the way the team came out. Drew Pine, like I said, to start. Yeah, my eye did get better. My eye did. It just, the scratch went away. So I'm all set. Thanks, Steve, for noticing that. And thanks for tuning in. Drew Pine came out, and he was obviously in his head. He was obviously very nervous. He couldn't catch snaps. Even little throws in the flat were going in the dirt. Everything was short. And then the one over the middle to Michael Mayer, it's over his head and that sort of thing. And that prompted him to, get the chewing out from Tommy Rees, which brought back memories for me, because I remember when I was a young player. I've gotten chewed before like that as well. I used to get screamed at so bad, for any little mistake. So that kind of took me back. And I think it was a good balance too. Like, I don't know how people reacted to it in the moment. I think people were probably understanding just because he wasn't playing well, Reese was not having a good game at that point, but he comes off the field and Michael Mayer, kind of gives him the pat on the head and like, hey, let's go. Like, we got this. We're going to be okay. And then he gets on the phone with Reese, and Reese gives it to him, and I think, honestly, that's a good balance of like your teammates got your back. And it's like, we're going to figure this out. And then your coach basically just says, hey, like, this isn't good enough. This isn't going to work. You need to get your head out of your butt, and we need to start making some plays. And that was eventually what they did. Especially after, I think if everyone goes back, so I've rewatched the game. I rewatched it last night, and I think if everyone goes back and looks at the after the touchdown, after Cal scores their first touchdown, which they got the benefit of going quickly after some plays that were made that looks like maybe they weren't receptions. Notre Dame obviously got the benefit from a offside penalty that I did not think was an offside penalty. I'm not even sure why the ref thought it was an offside penalty, but it is what it is. But I think Cal, went quickly there, scored a touchdown. And I think after that, you'll see a marked difference in the offense, in the way the whole operation worked. Right now, I think they still have a ton of work to do offensively. Right. It's not a situation where they came out and they suddenly looked a lot, they looked like a high powered offense or anything like that. There are things that they had to build on, so they just went like straight power running game. Basically the dual blocking that we saw for a lot of last year, like Notre Dame went to that. And that was and it's interesting because that's what Notre Dame did last season against, I think, what game was it? It was Purdue. It was the Purdue game where, if you go back and look at the runs that they were running against Purdue in that game where the offensive line couldn't get traction or anything like that in the first 2 weeks, they went to this dual blocking the power running game. And that was what Notre Dame did against Cal. And that's what led to some positive plays on offense, right? Like any positive play. They didn't get a first down till the second quarter. And obviously a lot of that had to do with the way they were playing, the way that they were, that was mistakes, right? And I don't think, the last week we've been talking about preparation and execution and that sort of thing. And it was clearly players making mistakes, right? Michael Mayer in the flat, Drew Pine can hit that. Michael Mayer in down the seam, Drew Pine can hit that, right? So those are it's clearly execution, false starts, that sort of thing. Like that's a little ridiculous, and the players need to take a little bit of ownership, and I think they did. I'll just get a couple comments here. Paul Kinlan, still not impressed by our team. We beat Cal by 7 points. It was almost a tie heading to overtime. That's true. It's a true comment, and it's not incorrect. But the thing is kind of what I'm getting at, they needed to win, right? They didn't need to be impressive, right? You can be impressive in a loss, right? They needed to win the game. And I think that's the main takeaway. They needed to go into the locker room celebrating a victory. It's super important, right? And that's how it was last year, right? Like that's how you build. You don't want to keep destroying. You don't want to keep getting knocked down. It's so much better for the team psyche, and it's an obvious statement, right? But it's so much better for the team psyche to go and celebrate a win, no matter what it is, right? It doesn't matter how it happened, right? The end of the game was ridiculous, okay? From the JD Bertrand mistake, which was inexplicable. You can't do that. You can't. The ball is clearly gone. The ball is clearly over his head. You can't hit the guy in the face. It's just like that can't happen. And then it's like, and then you get that thought in your mind, like, we're going to blow it. We're going to blow it. We're going to blow it. And then when you don't, it's like, okay, not everything that happens is going to lead to total destruction and sadness, right? Like that is, players do need to be reaffirmed theirs. So, they needed to learn that, right? So it's okay that we're not impressed after the game. That's all right. Like not every game is going to be, they're not gonna look like world beaters right now. That's not how it's gonna go. But they do need to string wins together. So that was important. But thank you for the comment, and we will move on with more comments. O-line looked 10 times better. Not sure what changed, but if they keep blocking like that, we might have a decent year. Yeah, right. And that was again after the touchdown drive from Cal. Like they put it on their shoulders. It was a lot more straight ahead, right? It wasn't as much movement. There wasn't as much zone. It was a straight ahead man-to-man blocking. I thought Zeke Correll after the first quarter started moving people for the first time, which was great to see. I thought Patterson played well. I thought Alt played well. I thought the right side, for whatever reason, Blake Fisher is still struggling. Notre Dame, and that's actually kind of like good news because you've seen him play so much better. You kind of think, okay, whatever is going on, right? Maybe he's nursing something, right? Like maybe there's some injury that we don't know about, but he's still struggling out there. In some respects, I'm not saying he's playing completely terrible, but I'm talking about for his standard. I feel like there's a higher level that he's going to reach. But to get the left side going, I thought Patterson played well. I thought Carell played well after the first quarter, and I thought Alt played a pretty good game just kind of straight away. So it's a good point, Tyler. I think if the line is going to be competent, we saw it last year. All this stuff, we saw it last year. That the line improved and they could run the ball, and suddenly the offense kind of started taking steps. So it's a good comment, and I think a fair comment. If we net another quarterback out of the pocket to jog for another first down, he's going to go insane. I think everyone was thinking that, at least in the moment, for sure. So I went back and looked, and so what Notre Dame's doing is they're playing man under. Notre Dame's playing a ton of man defense. It's not something that I really expected, but when they have a matchup, they feel like their corners and their secondary is better than the receivers that they were going against. They're going to play man, so they're playing man under with two high safeties, and so it's basically on the defensive line. Like, you have to keep lanes. You cannot get too far upfield. You cannot get washed in a certain direction, because the quarterback is going to be able to scramble. And if he gets through the line, there's no one left, right? Because it's all man. Everyone's back is turned. And they're not going to spy. I don't think they even plan to spy Jack Plummer, right? Maybe they would have at the end of the game, because it's like, hey, we keep getting beat with this. And that's an adjustment you can make. But I think they like the coverage, and fair enough, right? Like I thought the secondary for the most part was really good. So it's like, you don't want to get out of the coverage that's working. At the same time, you're letting their quarterback run, right, over and over again. So they're going to talk to Al Golden on, I guess, Tuesday, and so we'll find out, what he felt about that, how he saw that playing out, whether or not he thought that was a good strategy, whether he would keep doing that, and that sort of thing. So that's a good comment. I think everyone was thinking it for sure. Let's see. And Jelly has to get worked in because Pine isn't the answer. Buckner next year will still be green and hasn't stayed healthy. I do agree that they've got to get him going. They've got to get him in games. The problem is like, you might want to put him in a situation where it's not such high leverage, right? But it might be difficult. You might just have to throw him into the fire when the game is on the line, because it's hard to see Notre Dame getting out to any sort of lead to where it's like, yeah, it's a good time to put in Angeli, because, okay, so you have North Carolina next week. They can score points, right? So even if you're up 14-0 on them, like, the game is always kind of there, right? And so North Carolina can put in points, and you're on the road. You're going to put Steve Angeli in there on the road, like, for his first snaps. You don't know if that's a good idea. And then you have the bye, and then you have BYU, who's a good opponent, right? So the next couple of games, I think it's got to be all Drew Pine, but I do think they do need to get Angeli reps this year. It has to happen, because we don't know what's going to happen with Pine after the season. We don't know what's going on with Buckner, and the other part too is, because Buckner got hurt, you can't go into next year. You can't go into next year with the way the quarterback room is right now. They have to bring in someone who they know can play, because when Buckner was in, he never got the chance to actually show his potential, right? He didn't get, we haven't seen it. So it's going to be a big, that's a big thing. So they need to know what they have in Angeli. They need to know what they have. They don't know what they have in Buckner. So it's going to be difficult. I do think they need to bring Angeli into the lineup at some point. Let's see. Blake Fisher is struggling because he's on the right side. He's a natural left tackle. I said there's going to be a mistake from day one in spring. I watch his feet and hands. Maybe. The only thing I can say is he looked good. He looked good against Oklahoma State. It looked like that looked okay, right? It's just weird that it's been this long, and it was not a huge issue last year, and suddenly this year it is, right? I understand the natural part, but it's been a little bit, it's and maybe it's that plus the the new coach. You know, if he stands asking him to do different things and he's not super comfortable with that, that's possible, right? If it's the combination of right side plus new coach, right? Maybe Quinn was more of a, we're going to put you on the right, but do it how you got to do it, you know? And he stands not down with that. Maybe he stands like, no, it has to look X way. So, so it's an interesting comment, right? And it's an interesting thing. Steel Horseman, hey buddy, what's up? How's it going? Chris Pura, super sticker. Thank you for that. That's very nice. I appreciate that. All right, let's see. Jason Warnock, I agree it doesn't have to be right now, but I think BYU or later because we will have a bye week. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it certainly won't be against North Carolina in terms of the plan, right? He might have to play for X reason, but plus he hasn't been up with the main team yet for that long. He needs to do that a little bit more. There's no way he's getting a bunch of reps. No way he's getting a bunch of reps in practice because Pine hasn't gotten a bunch of reps. So they need to get him up to speed. While also getting Angeli up to speed. So I think it's going to be a little bit before we see him, but we'll definitely see him at some point. CW Pura, thanks for getting up early. No problem, man. Every week, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. We're going to be talking about the game afterwards. It's funny, people are very excited to talk about losses and not wins. That's because we had like 200 people in the chat after the first losses, and then we don't have as many this time. So I was wondering how that would go. So, but that's fine. We're gonna do it anyway because I appreciate everyone here for tuning in. And if you haven't tuned in before, hit subscribe button. If you like what you're seeing here, hit the like button. Stick with us. We got a whole bunch of content coming out. I'm very excited to break down a win later on this week. We're going to talk about some of the improvements. That we saw on offense, some of the things we saw on defense. Jacob Lacey had a hell of a game. Howard Cross leads the team in tackles. Howard Cross is leading the team in tackles with 21. DJ Brown with 18. Who had hand up? Who had Howard Cross leading the team in tackles through 3 weeks? Not me. Not anyone. I don't think so. Good job by him. He's doing really well, getting off blocks and making things happen. What did I think, man? A man blocking in the second half. I thought it was the move that they had to make, right? Like you just put man on man, put body on a body, and start pushing. And that's what they needed to do. They need to build off of that, right? So they need to continue to build. It can't just be that, right? There's got to be more to the offense. But for this game thing to get through the game, I think it was a good call and a smart move by Tommy Reese. Let's see. I like the aggressiveness that Estime is running with, but he needs to keep his head up while running. There were a couple of times he should have made a cut instead of slamming in the pile. Yeah, because like he's a new player too, right? And so that's another one where he's got to get used to being in games and being in space. He hasn't had a ton of space in the first few, right? So he needs reps to where it's like, okay, he's reading it out. He can be patient, trust his instincts, and go with that. Not perfect by any means. Like this was the under 300 yards of offense, right? It's not like they put up some stellar performance. The whole team needs to build, and that's the kind of the point that I'm making is it's okay that it didn't look great, right? It's okay that they didn't come out and look like 2019 LSU. They just needed to win, and they did, right? That's something to build off of, right? It's hard to build off of losses. You don't want to learn lessons from losses all the time. You do need to start building through some wins. So, but it's a good point. Good point there. All right, let's see. Let's see. I feel like our quarterback development has been lackluster at best. Do you think it is Reese's fault, or is it due to lack of talent at the position? Pine and Buckner were both 4 stars and haven't impressed. So I don't like to use the word fault because it kind of doesn't matter, right? It's his responsibility. He's the quarterback coach and he's the offensive coordinator. So it's his responsibility for how they play, and all of that. So it's just a matter of fact. Like he needs to do better. I think the quarterbacks need to do better because the other part, is Pine and Buckner. They're both his recruits. So he evaluated them and he brought them in, so if you're going to make the evaluation, excuse me, if you're going to make the evaluation, then you have to develop those guys, right? Like you asked them to come, you went to their school and you called them and you did all these things to get them to come to Notre Dame. So now that they're here, you need to develop them into good players, right? And I think, we'll see, right? At the end of the year, we can kind of do over like an evaluation of how it all went, but not super promising right now, just to be totally honest. But I do think Reese called a good game. I definitely think he set Pine up for success. Pine just wasn't ready in the beginning, and then he got better at the end. So when I say the end, I mean the last 3 quarters. So do you think he needs to rethink his install? It seems the timing is way off. I think that was just due to in this game. I think it was due to Pine. Pine just wasn't mentally, he just wasn't there. He just wasn't ready to do a good job. So that's the way it is. Like I said, I thought he set up Pine for some real good success. I thought he made some good play calls. I thought he had some nice things dialed up. And the problem is, so the other thing too is, so when you do your install, right, and you do your game plan and everything, if you can't achieve first downs, then you can't ever get to the next level of plays, right? So during the week, Matt Freeman asked Tommy Reese about play action and versus straight drop back, and he said everything's complementary, right? And which he didn't want to answer the question because it's like a scheme question. But the thing is like you can't get to the complements of the plays you're running if you're not on the field. Like the plays have to be successful first, and then you get to the complement of those plays, right? So you want plays to build off each other. Show the defense this in the first quarter, third, fourth quarter, show them something else, right? Like that. So that's, you all want it to mesh together, but you can't if they're not executing it. So, Patrick Quinlan, if you ask what our record would be at halftime, I'd say 2-10. A win is a win. Lots to clean up, but as fans, we need to enjoy the wins. First one since September 2021. Love the show, Greg. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for being on the show. Man, 2-10. I was like, man, it is 0-12 is in play, right? And obviously, I didn't tweet that or I didn't put it out or anything, but I was definitely thinking like, man, if we don't win this game, this could go in a really bad way. So I appreciate the comment, man, because I think I was thinking the same thing. So here's the thing. They're not getting good play right now from these guys. It's not atrocious. Okay. So it's not like it's really super bad, but there's just like not a ton of playmaking there. And the run fits are just too inconsistent, right? They're missing them. Even when they're unblocked, like they're not making plays. So it's just like, we're not seeing a bunch of playmaking from them. We're not seeing the getting into the backfield, darting into the backfield, havoc plays, that sort of thing. Poor angles in pursuit. Like it's just not great right now. And it's funny because, this unit has Al Golden, who worked with linebackers at Cincinnati, who they did a really good job there. They have James Laurinaitis, who's a linebacker at Ohio State, and they have Marcus Freeman, who they have so many linebacker coaches, but guys who can get them ready to go and help them and teach them, where to be and make plays and that sort of thing, and the run fits and how to read it out. And it's just not happening right now. So that's another one where I felt like the defensive line played a lot better today. I think the secondary remains consistent. It's just that the middle level of the defense needs to pick up their play. And it's really surprising because obviously Marist, and the thing about Marist is he didn't get to play last year, right? He hasn't played in a really long time. So he's learning a lot. And Jason, I see you asked the question about the linebackers, so I'm kind of answering it now. But thank you for the question. But yeah, it's not a great situation right now. So they need, it's easy to say like they need to bring in Prince Colley or they need to bring in Junior Tulialamaka. Junior got a couple of snaps in this game, and they weren't the best snaps. But like 2 snaps, that's not really enough for a solid evaluation of him as a player or anything like that. So they might have to get him ready to go. I think the Rover situation is what it is, right? I think it's Kaiser's spot if they're not in nickel. And then, so, if they're not going to go Collie, I don't think Snead's ready to go, or they don't think Snead's ready to go. Those guys just have to get better, right? They're not going to have Bertrand in the first. They're not going to have Bertrand against North Carolina, at least in the first half. So, he's going to have to miss that. So it's going to be a lot of Bo Bauer, who hasn't been as attacking. I think Jamie and Mike brought that up in the post game. Like, just haven't seen the downhill attacking from any of those guys. So they got to get better there. But thank you for the comment. And you too, Jason. I'm just gonna shout that out. Linebacker play. I made the same comments, right? Like, they have so many good coaches coaching linebackers. It's surprising. I thought Reese called a heck of a game with the personnel he's working with. Lindsey and Tyree in the flats with space and motions, jet sweeps. Yep. Yeah. Like, I thought he set Pine up for success. They do need to build off it, right? You can't just be 10 yards and in, right? They need to be able to throw the ball with a little bit more depth. And Pine, obviously, it was just a situation where it was like, okay, get through the game, don't make any mistakes, right? Like, don't throw the ball up for grabs. Get through the game, make the plays that are there, run the ball solid, and get into the end zone. Any way you can. I thought the throw to Mayer for the game-winning touchdown, I thought was a great throw because his arm gets hit. It's over the middle, and he put it right where you want it to be, like high and away against zero coverage where there's no one coming over and that sort of thing. So it was a really good throw by Pine, and that's the playmaking. But I thought Reese set him up really well. Hopefully you have given the officials the credit they deserve for this win. Notre Dame is that no. Here's the thing. The catch that led to Cal's first touchdown, not a catch. The ball hit the ground. Okay. The second catch that was that led to their field goal drive at the end of the first half, hit the ground, wasn't a catch. Like these things even out, man. You don't know how the game's gonna go. I mean, if you want to give the officials credit, like, they missed the only reason Cal had a play to throw the ball up in the air is because they called a fumble on a play when it should have been just called a sack, and the clock runs out, right? Because Cal has to run back. They're scrambling. They don't have the benefit of a timeout to set up a play. So, I understand, like, people are gonna say, like, oh, it was not a good penalty, that led to the drive getting extended. But here's another thing. Maybe just don't let them score, right? Maybe don't let an offense score that hasn't been moving the ball at all. So, I'm not gonna say that the officials did anything for Notre Dame, because they gave them points and then they cost them points. So that's how I see that. But thank you for tuning in, right, with that comment. All right, let's see. I love how the D-line was firing off the ball. Yep, finally got some pressures. That's a true point. They were getting some pressure. I think Foskey had a big game. I thought Jason Adamalola had a big game, especially in the first at the end of the game where he was really, they almost got him for a safety and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was good to see, and they need to build off that, right? It can't just be this game thing, because Cal didn't have a good offensive line, right? So you got to do it against a better line. But Notre Dame 21-64. Thank you for that. Keep in mind Harry's first stint with Notre Dame, it took the line 5 to 6 games to show improvement. He is a new coach to these guys. Sure. Yeah. Right. I'll keep it in mind. I think, though, like, it doesn't need to look terrible. Like, that's not, like, okay, for example, right? Like, Ohio State made a change on their line, and they changed a bunch of players around. Okay. They look fine. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that's the best that they're going to look, right? I don't think Notre Dame needs to, I didn't think it's not that they need to be the Joe Moore Award winners in the first 3 weeks. Okay. I understand that part of it. But some of this is like, it's got to get better, and look, they should have known, right? Like we need to be more, man up, straight ahead running and that sort of thing, right? You do need to execute the things that they're asking you to execute. That's part of football, right? Like we don't you can't give a pat like so the wide receivers, right? They have a new coach, right? They got to play. You got to make plays. Like the running back, same thing. Like tight ends, like you have to be able to put a good product out there, and they're not. And I don't want to give like a whole pass for the fact that they haven't been playing well. There's reasons to understand why, that's one thing, right? That there's reasons to, say like, okay, this is why they're struggling a little bit. Okay, no problem, right? But if on the whole it doesn't look good, well, then that's not a good job, right? So I don't want to say, it's something's a good job when it isn't a good job. Let's get to Travis. First question of the day. Kyle's a bad team. We still nearly blew it. One thing I will say is the offensive play calling was much better, and seeing Chris Tyree get 25 touches was promising. Did Merriweather ever see the field? He did. He got 5 snaps. And if you recall, the play where Pine, the snap came kind of early, and he pulled it. It was a third down play. It was right before the field goal that was called for offsides. It was that third down play when it was like a zone read, but the snap came early. And what he was doing is he was trying to, I think he was trying to get Merriweather to motion. So you could see on the replays to his hand, like, I want you to motion over. And he didn't, right? Now, I don't know if that's a Merriweather mistake or if it's Pine or whatever, because it's not like Pine was on his P's and Q's yesterday. But I think the fact that Merriweather didn't play after that is maybe indicative of whose responsibility that was. But he did get on the field. He got on the field for 5 plays, so got out there, which is nice to see. But let's see. Just throwing this out there. Some of our wide receivers need to learn how to block better. Joe Wilkins had a play in the game that got Pine tackled. Didn't even get a hand on the DB. I wonder if that's the play we're talking about, where I bet it might be, actually. I'll go back and watch, but I think the reason for that is maybe Joe Wilkins didn't think the quarterback was going to be over there because the play was a different call, right? Like, so if you're blocking to where it's like you're stalking with a player who's you expect that they're going to be running inside on the right, and then the quarterback's rolling out left, well, then you're going to be out of position because you don't expect the ball to be going there. If that's the play you're talking about, then that's probably what happened. But yeah, I think the whole offense is not operating on a high level. Like we're talking about the mistakes that Pine made. He did throw a crosser right to Lorenzo Styles. The ball goes through his hands, so that's not good, right? And he obviously was better later on, which is good. But the whole offense right now is not clicking on a level that is, frankly, where you can call it a good football team. That's why I'm saying, like, they needed to win. You don't want to grow by you're losing. If you keep losing, you keep losing, that's just going to manifest itself. So I do have a question for people who are watching. Did everyone notice that that Ben Morrison started this game for Clarence Lewis? That was interesting. He played the first couple series for Clarence Lewis, and I don't know that was pointed out by the broadcast. But that good on Ben Morrison, I guess, in practice, for getting out there. I do want to note Clarence Lewis outsnapped him, right? So and I thought Clarence Lewis played a strong game aside from the blitz where he came from the backside and missed the tackle. The quarterback spun away from him. We saw that happen a few times from this quarterback. Like Notre Dame could have had, double-digit sacks in this game. They missed too many opportunities. But I thought Clarence Lewis played a strong game, and he had a pick that was taken away by a penalty. Let's see. What else was I going to note? Cam Hart got lost again on another play. His eyes are not great right now. When he was pressing in the slot, got beat on that slot fade. So here's the thing. First of all, it was a drop. So that was a drop. The other part too is like he is where he should be. Now he didn't get hands on the receiver, so it was kind of a clean release and that sort of thing. And that's not what you want. But he was there. The ball had to be dropped in a certain spot. And because it has to be dropped in a certain spot, and because it is a catch trying to be made under duress, that's what causes the ball to come out. Right now, obviously, the ball hits the ground. The ref doesn't see it. They get on the ball real quick and they go. And so it's an explosive given up by Ben Morrison. But in reality, like, it's actually not a catch. So the coverage is good. Obviously, he just needs to get a little bit stronger, which is natural for a freshman, right? Like he does get bodied a little bit, just a little bit, not too much, but enough to where it's like it's really causing him problems. Now that I'm in this is going to be off topic a little bit, but I'm thinking about it now. So the thing that Marcus Freeman did in this game that I thought was a kind of like a rookie coaching move was at the end of the first half when there's 4 seconds left and it's fourth down, right? So obviously if you don't get a first down, they're going to kick or they're going to get the ball and whatever. There's 4 seconds left, right? You can snap the ball. Put an Angeli in this situation if Drew Pine can't get the ball to the end zone. You have the ball at like the Cal 45 or whatever it is. There's 4 seconds left. Just throw it up in the air. Throw it up into the end zone. Because if it's incomplete, so what? The half's going to be over, right? It's almost like a freebie. It's a free shot, So they needed to take a shot there, and I don't like it when they do like. And by the way, Brian Kelly didn't do this either. Brian Kelly had a couple instances where it's like, hey, you can just throw the ball into the end zone while the half ends, that's like, I don't want to even say like that's a rookie coaching mistake. Like, I think that's just a mistake, right? Like Brian Kelly didn't do it and Marcus Freeman didn't do it. Just looking over some other stats, Tariq Bracy led the team in snaps on defense again. I mean, he's like most important player on the defense right now, which is kind of crazy considering, how people felt about him going into the season. Howard Cross led them in, had their highest PFF grade, which was, I think, 89. Let me just confirm that. But yeah, it was, they thought he had a really good game. Let's see here. Howard Cross. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Isaiah Foskey for this week. Oh yeah, Howard Cross is their overall highest graded player, and Isaiah Foskey was had the highest PFF grade with 80, or 88. No, with 80. Josh Lugg was the overall highest graded player on the team with an 89, which is a really high grade. 89 that's a good grade for them. So, and the 3 highest players on offense were Alt, Patterson, and Carell. So it just kind of goes to show like that left side, at least according to PFF, right? Obviously not everyone. I'm gonna get to this comment, Brian. You get to that left side, and when you got something on a certain line of the offensive line, on a certain side of the offensive line, you can generally, create some movement in the running game, and that was what we saw. Do I think he has a potential in the NFL? I mean, he's small, right? But who knows, man? Like, you never know. Like, guys stick in the NFL that you would not suspect would stick in the NFL all the time. And so, I would say what I would say is he's playing his best ball, and I don't know if he's the best player on the team or whatever, but I don't know if he's the best player on the team, but he's definitely playing. He's definitely playing well at the moment. Brian Dembo, still don't trust Tommy. Why? I'm interested to hear why you say that. I don't, because I don't have like, it's not a matter of trusting him, in my opinion, just for how I view it, right? Maybe you can view it different. That's fine. I don't not trust Tommy Rees or anything like that. It's just like, it's just that consistently, we haven't seen the quarterbacks play at the level that we feel like is their highest, I guess. Like even Ian Book, who played great, who I will always defend Ian Book, but like he never did reach that level where it's like he had, in my opinion, just complete understanding of the offense, right? And so I don't think Ian ever got there in terms of where to go with the ball and that sort of thing. And obviously Buckner didn't look great, and Pine didn't start the game very well. So, but I'm interested to hear what Brian has to say about that. This is interesting. Best O-line play I've seen in I don't know how long. Okay. So, I mean, what are we taking into account here? You know, because look, I thought Notre Dame in the second half of last year, I thought they put together some really good performances. Not against teams that were like really good or anything like that. Like I thought their pass blocking against Oklahoma State was kind of amazing. But the running game was obviously not good. So I don't know. I mean, the 2020 season was pretty good, just across the board. So I get maybe we could go to 2020. You know, they played well. They did a good job. So I don't want to take that away. Honestly, happy to get. And so was I. Yeah, I mean, I was happy to see him get fired up. I appreciated it, you know, because like I said, players need that, right? It's okay. Like it's not a bad thing, right? Sometimes you need to get told, like you need to pull your head out. This is not acceptable. Like you need to make the throws, right? You have a player in the flat who's wide open, hit him. You have a player down the seam who's wide open, hit him. Like this is ridiculous, you know. Get your head out of your butt, for lack of a better way to put it. So, how dare you say that about Ian Book? It's not the standard anymore, and it never should have been. Okay, I disagree. I actually don't think this is true. Ian Book could throw the ball. He was a good thrower of the ball. Ian just never got that quality where it's like, okay, I know where the ball needs to go all the time. Ian would get too confused. He would miss opportunities. That was his thing. I think physically he's fine. I think physically he's a good player. Just Andy Gal, thank you for the super chat. Audric is a new Kyron in attitude and toughness, not running style. And thank God. I tell you what, not a bad take. Not a bad take there. I do think he has that attitude and toughness. It's a good call on the running style because they are different, right? So that's a good call. I do think he has a little bit of that push. You know, I thought last year he was always trying to. Honestly, I thought last year he was trying to be more like Kyron, like bounce things and that sort of thing. And then this year, I think he's really kind of, you know, gone into his own kind of like, okay, this is the type of runner I'm going to be. I will say I was impressed with him yesterday. I thought he ran hard, and I thought he made the right reads for the type of player that he is. He probably wishes he hadn't fallen over on that screen or the angle route, because he was going to probably go for a touchdown, but he got the touchdown later anyway. So it was a good job by him. And this is a good comment, so I appreciate it, and I appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a problem. It's a problem. Just full stop. You know, we'll see what happens with CJ Carr. But yeah, just you can't. I don't think you can look at the way that it's gone and say that this has been a good part of, you know, the program. Just I think that's true. Really referring to the push they got in the second half, physically moving. Yep. Okay. Fair deal. Fair deal. I thought they were physical. I thought they were very physical. Notre Dame got 3 senior high school quarterbacks. I don't know what that means. Maybe they're all like worthy of being like quarterbacks in senior year. I don't think he's a good talent evaluator. From that point of view. Okay, fair take. I mean, you know, it's hard to disagree. I don't have any evidence to refute that. So we'd be 3-0 with book. Maybe. Ohio State is maybe. I'm with everyone else. Happy for the win. Thank you, Brian. I am also happy for the win, and thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate that. Let's see. Why do Notre Dame players wear Under Armour? I don't know. Not good. Like they keep slipping. You know, Chris Tyree gets the ball. I think it was the second quarter. They get him on the screen. He catches it and he goes to turn up field and he slips. And that's what allows the defensive tackle to like get into the play. I think if he catches it and goes and he doesn't slip down, he might score, honestly. So I know Notre Dame replaced the turf, right? So maybe there's something with that, right? The turf is new and they haven't used it a ton. It was just installed over the summer. So maybe that is part of it, but it's like, I'm over it. Like I'm done. They need to wear better equipment on their feet. You need your feet. So, all we hear is that about is Tommy's NFL mind. The talent isn't as important in the NFL. They're all talented. I do think that there's something to that, right? Like when people talk about Tommy Rees's play calls, I do think you can see the logic in what he's doing. Like especially with the formations and all that stuff, like that's I think that people can see it. The problem is it's not translating to what his players can execute on the field, you know? And so there's the disconnect there, but I do think this is a good, like if he's calling plays, he's not totally like, especially if he's like designing plays for like the Rams, let's say, like he's not, they're not, what's it called? He's not the scout, right? They have scouts for that sort of thing, right? They have people who kind of make those decisions. So I think it's a fair point. I don't remember a ton against Ohio State, I guess. But fair, like I'll take it because I really don't like Notre Dame playing in Under Armour. I just don't. So I'll just move on to the next one. Travis Rivas. Just from my point of view on both sides of the ball, the team always seems like they're overthinking every aspect of the game rather than just playing off their football instinct and talent. I'm taking this in. I think so. Okay. On offense, I mean, it's hard because here's the thing with the offense, right? Is the offense is completely dependent on one person to run the show. And that is not the case on defense, right? So if the quarterback isn't operating at a high level, then that tends to bring down the level of everybody else because they make every single decision, right? So it's just that's why it's hard to evaluate on offense. Whereas like on defense, if you have someone who isn't doing the job or isn't like if someone on defense is playing like Drew Pine, just take them out, put in someone else, and then they'll continue. The offense is completely dependent on a person, right? So that's the thing, you know. So I don't know. Like I think the linebackers are definitely like I don't think like DJ Brown is not overthinking anything, you know. Like I don't think it's that for him or like the defense. I mean the linebackers maybe. So that there might be aspects of that, but I think honestly everything looks a lot better if the quarterback play improves. But it's you know, if that's your impression, that's your impression. I don't want to say you're wrong. I just view it a little bit differently. Jason Warnock, thanks for the super chat and the comment. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I love when everyone's here and we're all having a conversation. That's the point, right? I love to talk about it. I love to talk about the game afterwards. I always want to talk about the game the morning after. So that's the point of this show. That's why I started it up. So I appreciate everyone being here. Anyone else ready for Collie Snead linebacker tandem besides having to play 9:24 first half due to JD's targeting? So I don't. Sure, I'm ready for. I'm wondering why Collie can't get in the lineup. I understand Snead because he's younger, right? And they really like Jack Kaiser, and that's fine. But the Collie thing, I don't get. This is his second year. He was all spring. He had all fall. I don't understand why he can't see snaps. There must be some disconnect, right? Oh, I did not know that. Well, if Kyle Hamilton said it, then they need to put him in the game as soon as possible because we all know this is a Kyle Hamilton stand pod or broadcast, whatever you want to call it, as the president of Kyle Hamilton fan club. So, but I don't understand why he can't get in the game. I don't. He's not. I don't think he got any snaps. Let me check total snap counts. Nope, no snap counts. Maybe on special teams, but beyond that, maybe there's some kind of an injury. Maybe there's something going on. But yeah, I don't see anything for Prince Collie. So it's an interesting thing. Oh, cool. Tell him I said hi. Oh, okay. Oh man, look at Just ND Gal going on the Inside the Garage podcast. I appreciate that. Or listening to the show. That's good. Wish they bring it back. Haven't heard from those guys. Thought Pine was super tight and performed okay for his first start. Lots of room to grow. Definitely lots of room to grow. I mean, he was tight. Like it was like Everett Golson against Michigan in 2012 levels of tightness. Like that was it was like you can't catch the snap, throwing the ball into the dirt, missing everything, and the body language was just awful too. That was the other part, like clearly in his head. But he did settle down. And hopefully that's all. Like, okay, I did the thing. We can move on. Did the thing and move on. Like, hopefully that's where it is because they do need to start growing here. Let's see. Am I the only one who's screaming at the TV after the 4th and 9 conversion? I wasn't screaming anything because I was. If you didn't listen, or if you didn't hear at the beginning, I was at soccer all day yesterday, so I was watching on my phone. I wouldn't say that I was screaming. I was shaking my head. Like, man, this is especially when like when Bertrand hit the guy and it's a penalty after the game was supposed to be over. I mean, because I was driving at this point. If Cal had caught that, if Cal after the interception got called back, if Cal had scored on that drive and they went to overtime, like I might have careened off the road. It might have been like a really bad thing, would have been really bad because my daughter was in the car. So I would not careen off the road. But I was very upset. It was very upsetting. The whole thing was just it was not good. So I understand the emotion there. Missing a call guy. Look, they're gonna get held in every game, like all the time. Because has Notre Dame gotten called for a holding yet this year? Like we've played how many plays and no holding calls, or maybe like 1 or 2. So it's just like it's not a thing they're gonna call. I think the refs have it in their mind, like if we have to allow some stuff, because if not, we're gonna call holding on every play, and the game is no longer fun. It's not fun. It has to be like play side. Like the Notre Dame got a holding call. I think it was the second quarter. They ran outside, and I can't remember who was held. It might have been Nana. And and they called it though, right? So it has to be like very very into the play. But so it's not, I'm not saying you're wrong. You're probably are. They probably are. But it's not going to get called like you had. Like the standard for holding now is like so high. So yeah, so it's probably accurate, but it's like I don't even think about the refs anymore. In terms of holding, more rotation at linebacker. Yeah, we were just talking about that. That's gotta. I don't know. We're talking that the media talks to Al Golden. I'm sure he'll be asked about that because there's always a theme. Like like this week, the theme is like the linebackers are kind of shaky. Like last weekend, it was like Foskey and Adamalola. Like, where are you? Why aren't you making any plays? And then those guys made plays this week. So now everyone's talking about the linebackers, which I'm not saying is wrong. I'm just like, that's the theme. And so I don't think there's any chance. No worries, Al. No worries. You can. I don't mind if people ask repeat questions. I'm just kind of explaining. If you want to rewind it, because Andy Gal, she asked a question about Snead and Collie. So if after this is over, you want to rewind it, you'll hear that conversation. But what I'm saying is, so what I was going to say is, anytime there's always a theme to the week, and this week seems to be linebackers. So I think Al Golden's going to be asked about the linebackers specifically on Tuesday, and so we'll maybe get some information there. But yeah, the Snead no snaps, Collie no snaps, and so I can't imagine that they're going to get a ton of snaps prior to the bye week. So I think North Carolina will be a lot of Bo Bauer. With J.D. Bertrand missing the first half, and I think probably a lot of maybe Jack Kaiser in there. And plus, like, they're not going to be playing a ton of linebackers anyway. Like, it's going to be a lot of Kaiser and Marist, in my opinion, because of the type of offense that North Carolina is running. A lot of 10, a lot of 11, maybe just one linebacker at times, right? Because they seem to like a lot of corners, right? They have no problem putting Ben Morrison in the game. They have no problem putting Tariq Bracy, obviously. They have no problem putting multiple defensive backs out there with Ramon Henderson and Brandon Joseph and that sort of thing. So hopefully no one can hear my screaming child. But if yes, then hey, that's life. So but yeah, so I don't know that there's going to be a ton of linebacker play in the next game coming up. Yeah, I think these problems might have been this game specific because they did not expect Jack Plummer to be the runner that he is. So like North Carolina's guy, like their quarterback, he's a lot more mobile. So I don't think they'll be in as much man where it's like everyone's back is turned, right? So I do think it was a problem in this game, but I don't know that that's going to be going forward, like how it's going to go, right? I think they'll have a better plan against quarterbacks who are more mobile, right? So like whenever they get to USC, I don't think it's funny. I think we're going to see that we're going to get the same thing against USC's quarterback. Why can't I think of his name right now? I don't want to think of his name. He shouldn't be there. There should be no transfers. I'm just kidding. Williams. Why can't I think of his name? This is so weird. But I do think yeah, I don't think they're gonna be. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not a problem. I just think that the reason that I think it was a problem is they really like the matchup against the corners. Caleb Williams, thank you. I for some reason I kept thinking Clarence. What a doofus. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it was this game specific. Hopefully, because we haven't really seen that in the other games. We didn't really get that. So, that's what I was thinking. Oh yeah, so you do hear my children. Yeah, man. I don't know what that's about. So I'm gonna end the show pretty soon, and then I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna have to deal with him. So my wife's probably very upset. As that's the way it goes. So, all right, we're at an hour. I got to get back to those kids. So thank you everyone for tuning in again today to the morning after show. Jamie and I are going to be potting either tomorrow or his real name's Clarence. Is that true? I don't even know if that's true. Maybe that is true. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Jamie and I are going to be doing a live show either tomorrow or Tuesday. We're going to be talking about film breakdowns and that sort of thing. We're going to break down some of the game. Obviously, Power Hour is going to be out. And we're putting Power Hour on the YouTube channel right now. So subscribe to the channel, right? It's not going to be a live show in terms of video, but they're going to put the audio online if you want to get that. So yeah, hit the subscribe button to this. Hit the like button, right? We're going to have a lot of stuff coming out. I'm going to do a lot more videos, pre-recorded videos, the eye in the sky videos where I break down the plays and I put them out like kind of like a whiteboard thing. So everyone likes that. You're going to want to check out Irish Sports Daily for a bunch of write-ups on the game, post-game notes. Jamie does a lot of stuff for the site on that. You're going to want to look at that. Everyone have a great Sunday. Watch Kyle Hamilton with the Ravens. I think they're playing the Dolphins. Kyle Hamilton's going to get his first career interception today. I can feel it. But beyond that, have a good Sunday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.